Whether you like it or not, resale is in your future. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about things to think about when you're living for resale. Stay tuned.
The Den, powered by the Lyons Group, a show dedicated to exploring hot topics in real estate, local happenings, and industry trends. We're a small team of professionals approaching $400 million in sales and nearly 2,000 local transactions. You're listening to time-tested experts and industry leaders. Here's a refreshing look at real estate happenings and more. Welcome to the Den.
Hello and welcome to this episode of The Den. Today we're going to be talking about living for resale. Should you dedicate all of your time, energy, and effort into the resellability of the property, or should you think about some of the comforts and whether you put dollar in, dollar out, does it really matter? But before we get to that, let me introduce my friends, my partners, my co-hosts, the fellow members of the Lyons Group. To my left, Paul, hand me the Rockberry, Aspen, the Ninja Gruen, and the boss, Shannon Martin Martinez. My name is Ben. Hopefully I get to resell properties at some point. Lyons, before I pass it on problems to my family, because that can happen. But today's episode, we are going to be talking about, should you live solely for resale with your real estate? And there is a tipping point there. You should be thinking about resale, obviously, because whether you resell or your family has to resell when you pass on, it is something that should be on your mind. But at the same time, you have to enjoy your property. So Aspen, you came up with this topic. I think it's a great topic. But I do want to get your thoughts on this. What's kicked off your mindset when talking about this?
My thought was just, you see so much like the gray flooring, the white walls, and that was really popular for a few years and everyone was doing it, and it's less popular now. So even if you try and follow the trends, they're probably going to go out of style anyways. You know, the Tuscan kitchens, we saw a ton in 2008 with that brown, so it's like you might as well just do what you like in your house because you can always paint the walls later. So do what you like, have a little bit of character, just go for it.
So I got in and built during the grayish phase. So we've got we got a lot of grays and we got a lot of beiges. Thank goodness we did like kind of a darker wood flooring. And I still think our house, I love the way our house has turned out. It's kind of our flavor.
Your house is also like a custom, a little bit nicer house. I just think people get like that cheap laminate flooring and the white walls and everything just gets like the landlord special. And that's kind of.
Yeah. Starts getting washed out a bit. Yeah. Yeah. But I can already see, even with our home, which was built, I'm going to say 8 years ago, I can already see like we're going to need to start doing some updates sooner than later, just because, I don't know, it's just not in style anymore.
My house was built in 2008 and it looked like it was built in 2008. Like you could just tell I knew the exact year before we even. Right when we walked in, I was like, oh, yep.
2008? Yep.
Because the walls, the ceilings, everything were that brown, which wasn't bad. It just wasn't my style, and it's not as in style now. Yeah.
For you in particular, you're thinking about, let me enjoy my property. Like, who cares about resellability? Or is that in the back of your mind? Like
a little bit. Yeah. Whenever we redid our backyard, I definitely was thinking, am I going to be able to get this back out? But then I know not everybody loves a garden. So if I was just thinking about resale, I probably wouldn't have added a full section of my backyard just for a garden. But I love a garden. So I went ahead and added that in. So a little bit of yes and a little bit of, what you want.
Yeah. Shannon, what are your thoughts? Should you be thinking about resale constantly or enjoyability? Where's the tipping point for you?
No, I think there's a balance. I think, like Aspen was talking about, there's just a balance to all of it. I think that you have to be kind of smart about it. You don't really want to make things too custom, or you don't want to do things that are really going to take a lot to undo, or that's going to really be hit you in the pocketbook when you go to sell because somebody doesn't want it. But most things, I would say, keep it the way you like it. You have to live in it as well, enjoy it, and still be smart about where you're spending your money with the things that you're doing.
Yeah. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine, and his parents built not too far down from where I live, but it's almost 10,000 square feet. And it's just husband and wife. And he goes, Ben, it's a 2-bedroom. And I'm like, it's a 2-bedroom, like 10,000 square feet. He's like, dude, it's a 2-bedroom, seriously. And he said, it's going to be, at some point I'll have to deal with it and whatnot. But he goes, I would have totally built it So it was just an easier sell, but they built it because that's what they wanted. And they did not care about the resellability factor. So, they're not going to bring as much value down the road, but they're going to enjoy it for, they've already been there 20 plus years. So they're going to enjoy it for another 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is. Paul, what are your thoughts there?
When I think about this topic, I think of repairs. Like when you're doing the repairs that need to be done, changing a water heater, electrical problems, all of those things. If you're a handy person and you think you can do it, it may come up as something that needs to be redone when you go to sell. So my thinking is, having seen a lot of DIY projects that, make your home almost unsellable, that if you have repairs that need to be done, get them done correctly. Think about, when somebody else comes into this home, if you've got to, go out and twist some wires to start your appliances, probably don't do that. Yeah. Get somebody that's licensed.
Painting the walls a different color because you liked pink and now you're going to do it a more neutral is easy, but having to redo all the electric is a little bit harder.
Or a roof, roof repairs is a big one too, because, that is, when you go to resale, an appraiser can come out and go, that's not passable work. That's, we can tell it's a fix. Really
nice pink solid stone countertops. And I was like, that's hard. That's hard because they are nice and they're expensive and you don't want to just rip them out, but it was a bold choice.
Yeah.
Well, we
got to really want that.
We sold a house that had concrete countertops with epoxy that they had laid over the top. Do you remember this? And they let all the drips stay there. And so as you go by, it's like icicles all along all the countertops in the house. And both of us were like, why would you do that? And
but someone bought it, right?
Somebody bought it, and I think right away, cut it all off. But it was one of those things like, just because you like it like that, the next person may not. So you have to make that choice whether you want this to be value added to your home or a possible, con when you go to sell it.
Yeah, and same thing with loud roofs. Like you do like a bright blue roof, like that just paint the outside of your house blue if you want, but keep the roof like neutral, because repainting the house, not that big of a deal. I mean, it's a big deal, but it's not as big of a deal as replacing your roof, because your roof's blue and it just doesn't help the sell of the home.
One of my rentals has a blue roof and I actually kind of like it.
Yeah. And some we've seen gray and blues in the roof tile, and then they can play off the gray a little bit on the outside. But boy, if you start going loud colors, now I agree, Aspen, in your house, paint your walls. If you feel the flow of big colors, then go for it. Cause those can be painted, right? It's not that big of a deal, but if you're making, you're spending $15,000 on pink granite stone countertops, you may want to think that through a little bit.
You may want to plan on staying there a while.
Yeah, it depends how long you're going to be there too.
Yeah.
Are you going to be there for a long time or?
Yeah. And what's your financial position too?
Yeah.
Again, going back to my friend that his parents have that huge house, when he goes to sell it, whatever the market is for there, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is what it is. They're pretty well to do, and that's okay. It was more about what they like. Now, if you're more in my vein, it's more of like, okay, I want to set my children up. If something were to happen to me, they should be able to sell this asset. It should be an asset for them. And when I don't want to make it hard on them as well. So we've seen some people that get to the retirement age and they just want a 2-bedroom house. And it's like, ooh, add that 3rd bedroom, because there's a big jump in value from 2 to 3 and a pretty good size from 3 to 4. But after 4 bedrooms, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the law of diminishing return. At some point, 7 bedrooms doesn't matter. Right. So what about stuff like, Paul, the HVAC versus a swamp cooler? Big upgrade, a lot of money. What are your thoughts on some of the mechanical components?
Well, a few years back, I was in the house I have as a rental now, is one I raised my kids in, had a swamp cooler that we inherited when we bought the house probably 12 or 13 years before. And I'd already replaced the pump and the motor and all of the things already. So I said, you know what? I'm sick of this. It's not working very well. I'm going to get a quote for HVAC. And it was, I'll just say this. When I got that quote, I immediately went and quoted a new swamp cooler. And I said, I could do 100 of these swamp coolers by the time it gets to an HVAC. So for me at the time, financially, did not make sense at all. Now, if you're buying a home, I would suggest finding one that already has an HVAC, or if you have new construction or something like that, the HVAC is definitely a huge upgrade in a home. But go from swamp cooler to an HVAC unit is, you have to be ready for that one.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, ladies? You take this one. What do you think some of the biggest return on your money that you should get with upgrades? In other words, is it flooring? Is it a kitchen? Is it a bathroom? Is it a roof? Where are some of the bigger upgrades? What are your thoughts? Shannon, you go first and then Aspen.
I think probably kitchens and baths. There's nothing sexy about having a new roof. People want a new roof, but they expect that you're going to sell a house with a good roof on it. But when you walk into a house and it's got, a sparkly new kitchen and the cabinets are modern and, the countertops are, don't have nicks and cuts in them and it's not laminate. Those kind of things really sell a house and really make someone want it and want to pay for it. So I think you get a lot more. I think you get a lot more back in those than you do. I agree. I'd like a good HVAC system, but you can put it on there and nobody's going to pay you $20,000 more for the house because it has one.
Yeah.
They expected it had heating and they expected it had air conditioning or some sort of cooling unit.
Yeah.
They expected that.
Aspen, what are your thoughts?
I was going to say kitchen and bath. And then I think once you get to a certain priced home, I think you can start getting into more of that custom stuff, maybe like outdoor kitchens or maybe some special woodworking in the house that you could probably get the value back on. But if you're doing it it just depends on the style and of house you're doing it on, because it wouldn't make sense to add it to certain things because you're really just not going to get it back. And I actually don't mind evaporative coolers if they're built for the house. My first house had 2 add-ons. They added on in the kitchen and then they added on in the back bedroom. And those never got cool, but everywhere else in the house was fine. My last house was bigger, only one only one swamp cooler, but it was built for the house and it was completely fine because it was ducted to everywhere it needed to be. So to me, I actually don't really care about a refrigerated cooler, but I know some people do.
Yeah. And it can make a huge difference because I'm just thinking about, there was an investment property in Aztec and the owner of that property had done the roof had been maintained every year, put all new, fire suppression in, all new plumbing had been ran. I mean, it was just all the infrastructure and those components had been taken care of, but the property itself, the cosmetic component it just wasn't at the same level. And that owner probably could have got a significant amount more. I mean, you tell me if everything was cutified, right? If everything really cosmetically, because she had done all the work, all of the hard work had been done. All of the non-sexy stuff had been done.
I was going to say that's my ideal investment property. That's what I would look for because I would try and get a good deal on good bones because I don't want to go in and redo the electric. I don't want to redo the plumbing. I just want to do the pretty stuff and make it nice. But I really look for new windows and I look for a nice taken care of roof. And I actually really like when you can tell it's been one owner for a really long time and they have all the records of stuff they've done. So to me, that would be appealing. But I would go in and make it nice and probably sell it for just as much or more, Yeah. And for what they put into it.
Yeah, that's what you need is something dated that has been well taken care of. So if you're looking to resell investment properties, because, again, kind of living for resale, there's a lot of owners that don't do anything to their investment properties. They just let them kind of deteriorate. But I don't agree with that. I mean, I really think you should be, taking care of your investment properties as they come along. Now, a lot of people don't have the extra money to do it. But what would be some of the critical things that you all would do with an investment property right out of the gate? If Paul, why don't you take this one? If you're looking or thinking about resale, living for resale down the road, and everything kind of needed some attention, but what would be kind of your priority list of things? Would it be the non-sexy stuff? The mechanical? Would it be the roof?
We need to say that word again in this podcast.
Yeah.
Non-sexy.
Non-sexy.
Well, I just had a huge issue with tree limbs falling. So if you see concerns right away, I would take those out or remove the concerns right away. So whatever's the thing that you can budget for, whether it's an appliance, mechanical system in the home, furnace, heating or cooling, whatever it is, roof, if you have issues with that, get those done first, and then the maintenance over the years is easier. But for me, I should have started trimming trees right away.
Get your ladder up there.
I didn't do that.
Yeah, I'll get my video camera.
These were not small. These were trees that were falling off this tree.
Oh my gosh. I've seen too many videos of people swinging off of ladders and branches taking them with them.
I'm smarter than to do that.
If you ever aren't smart enough to do that, let me know, because I want to be down there to see how this plays out, because those are some big trees. I've seen that property.
You're just cheering for me to get hurt, aren't you?
No, I just want to go viral. I don't know
I was
how
just
we do it
going to
with-
say that. That's all I was looking for.
Shannon, how about you? Same thing for you. Investment property. I mean, everything kind of needs attention. What would be your priority list?
Yeah, I would say the mechanical systems, keep those up. But I think also when you're talking about investment properties, if every time somebody moves out, you freshen up paint, or you freshen up some flooring where it needs to, or you recalk the showers, those kind of things could really go a long way for just keeping it nice and fresh for that resale when it comes. The longer those things go in between getting attention, I think the worse off they get. And then your bill is going to be bigger when you have to do it for the resale.
Yeah, great point. Aspen, what are your thoughts?
I always check roof and electric, and then heating and or cooling, depending on what it is. But if the electric is outdated, I always update it, just because that's what I would want for my family and just for safety, So I always make sure I do that. And then the roof, make sure it's not leaking, because water will just mess everything up. And then if I do all that and, I just have to do some basic flooring and basic paint, and then that's fine. I'd rather it be safe and structural, and, maybe get the cheaper flooring.
Yeah. So maybe less pretty, but more safe.
Yeah.
Especially if we're dealing with tenants.
That's what I would want,
Mhm.
especially if someone's bringing kids in there themselves. I would expect it to be safe for my family. So if I get an inspection and the electric is double tapped, or they flag it as dangerous, I'm going to redo it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of safe, because I agree with you, I think the mechanical component's one of the biggest components, especially if you have tenants and they're relying on you for safe things. Paul had an instance where your furnace was leaking carbon monoxide, and it was a serious deal. You guys,
You make me relive that.
yeah, I do. I want you, because I think it's a good story. I think you should share a little.
Well, we had a leak in our master bathroom, and the water was coming through the pan, and we would get this wet spot in our hallway. We had an old Mossman, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1 hallway. The carpet would get wet, and we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea. So finally, I pulled a vent out. I started doing a little bit of exploring, and it was damp. So every time we took a shower, we figured out and once it got worse, we kind of figured it out. So short story long, we hire a handyman. He comes, pulls the furnace, because the master shower backed up to the furnace closet. He pulled all that drywall out after he pulled the furnace. When he put it all back in, he didn't connect, or loosely connected the exhaust vent, and it popped off. And this happened in the springtime. So when the fall came around, when we turned the furnace on, we all started getting sick. So headaches during the day, or headaches at night, throwing up, that kind of stuff. Whenever we would leave the house, we'd all feel better. We go back in, and Michelle finally said, something's going on. Bring one of your carbon monoxide detectors home. And sure enough.
Wow.
It's crazy to me how many rentals don't have. You're supposed to have so many smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors.
I have one in every bedroom.
Yeah.
And then I have one in the kitchen and living room and hallways. I really literally put one in every single room, except bathrooms. Because
it's such a preventable thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I do now.
Yeah.
But it was.
And that's actually really common. I go in rentals all the time, and there's one smoke alarm, and I'm like, they're so cheap.
Right.
Go get them.
Yeah.
And you only need I think 1 carbon monoxide detector per house, but I'm with you. Put them everywhere.
I put them in every room.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Every bedroom and then hallway.
Yeah.
I don't normally put them in the kitchen just because cooking, they'll go off all the time. But
Well, and with the carbon monoxide detector, a lot of people don't realize they put them up high and carbon monoxide settles.
Right.
And so if it goes off and it's up high, ooh.
So actually,
Yeah.
I was just talking to Bryson about this yesterday, and so he works the fire department. So this is, I'm taking it as legit information.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong, it's all Bryson. not
Enlighten
me.
us. Yeah.
So he was saying that the way that those work actually is because of how the air and oxygen displaces. So even if you get one that, if it's made to go up high, it's because it's displacing. So it should still work.
Oh,
If
okay.
it's made, like, the combo ones, the smoke alarm.
Yeah.
He said those are fine.
So those work properly then.
Because it's not actually detecting the carbon monoxide. It's detecting like the displaced oxygen. That's what he says. If he's lying, I did no research on
Yeah,
this.
we're
I
calling
should have
him.
pulled up your computer.
Google
Just
it.
kidding.
Yeah, Google that.
So if you have a complaint about this, don't comment about
Yeah.
it.
I'll look it up afterwards.
Oh,
If it's wrong, I'll
Bryson.
put it in the comments.
No, I believe.
Please comment. We haven't gotten
It
a
sounded
comment.
right. It
Yeah.
sounded smart.
I believe Bryson there. I think he's probably onto something.
Why do we get on that? We're on Live for Resale.
Yeah, and so I was going to ask you, what about pools? Because I mean, so
What?
should you?
How did that?
Well, because
What? My furnace story, and now we're on pools.
let's go to pools because it's another safety thing. But does a pool hurt you down the road? What are your thoughts? You had some stats up, and yeah, that's okay.
No, we don't have time anymore.
Yeah, okay.
Thank goodness. Pools,
Yeah,
if they work, they're a huge asset. But if the majority of the time we sell a house, there's an issue with the pool. Like I'm trying to sell a house or about to, needs a pool liner. I'm like, that's going to hurt you. There's no way around that. So I think if it's well maintained, it's just like everything else. If it's well maintained, it's an asset.
and if it's not,
And if it's not,
total liability.
a liability. Yep.
Yeah. Some people don't want a pool at all. They don't want to deal with the maintenance. The stats, Aspen, they show that pool is kind of a wash. But here locally, what are your thoughts?
I think here locally, they're an asset, especially if they're well maintained, because we just don't have them. We're not Florida. We don't have one in every backyard. So if you actually go somewhere and everything's mechanically working and there's no leaks and the liner's there, that's a big plus for people. Or used to be, I don't know, electric and water are getting so expensive.
Right.
That's something to think about though,
Yeah.
too. Whenever you're buying a pool, I think people, even a hot tub, there's extra costs that are associated, not just filling it up, but so I could see how it could be a pro or a con, but I think here, for the most part, it's a pro. People like pools.
When I think I don't have a pool. I've never been in a house with a pool, but I have had a car that needed new tires, and we decided to trade it in and just get a new car. Is that what happens with pools? Like the pool goes bad,
You just
people
buy a new house.
Heck with it. I'm just gonna go get a new house. Leave this to somebody else.
That's why I sold my last house. We knew we had on the last, like the outside, it was all wood. We're like, we're going to have to restain this in a year or two and redo it all. And Bryson's like,
For
I'm
sale.
not doing it. And we put it up for sale. That's why we decided to sell. We loved that house. But,
Wow. Well, that is, it's pretty powerful to think about.
yeah, so I could see that.
All the extra work, especially the big trees and stuff like that. You've got all these big trees you got to trim. You're like, instead of trimming it, I might as well just sell the property.
Yes, that big thing that you're procrastinating about that's going to come bite you when you have to sell the house.
I love it.
Probably the thing you should address first.
The thing you should have done.
Yeah.
That's what's going to hurt you.
That's a great point. And we're going to end on that. We're going to jump right into the speed round. Shannon, I'm going to go to you again first. What's the most important factor for resale, and what's the biggest mistake people make when not considering it?
Gosh, I don't know if there's one factor. I think the biggest mistake people make is putting too much money into things that aren't going to get them money back, or at least pay for themselves.
Okay, awesome. And do you have any specific examples?
Yeah, like I guess like somebody that wants to spend $20,000 redoing flooring when they don't have a heater that works. Maybe do the heater and give a $10,000 allowance to the next buyer.
Oh, great point. Aspen, what are your thoughts? Most important factor for resale, and what's the biggest mistake people make?
I think they kind of go hand in hand. I would say if you are thinking you're going to be selling in the next 5 to 10 years, if you're planning on doing some major improvements and putting money into the property, you need to talk to a realtor, have them come over, and they'll be able to tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Or if you're planning on staying there for a long time, do what you want. It's your house, enjoy living in it. But if you are thinking you're going to resell it and you can't afford to lose the money on these fun improvements, I think you need to get a professional out there to tell you what to do in the area that you live in.
Great point. In fact, I tell people that all the time because we work with people for years and years and years. I'm like, you're my client. And it doesn't matter if it's 5 years down the road, call me if you're going to do something, because I'll talk you through whether it's something that you're going to get dollar for dollar back out, or it's, there's that tipping point of whether you're just going to enjoy it for a few years. But call us and talk to us before you do these things. Paul, round us out here.
She took mine.
You did.
No, I'll be honest. I mean, the thing that I say for resale, fix the thing if you think of what I got to do the house and that one thing pops up, do that. Now I tell people all the time, you're not going to get your money back. Like, if you don't need a new roof, don't put a new roof on. Don't upgrade the HVAC and think you're going to get everything out of it. Yeah, I agree with everything they said.
Yeah. And I agree with all of you. I think that's, you made some great points. So we're going to jump into my favorite section of the podcast, which is called the Lyons Pride. We like to highlight a person, event, an organization that does some great things in the area. And we like to highlight them and congratulate them and thank them for all that they do. Paul, you're up today for the Lyons Pride. Who would you like to highlight?
Well, I'm going to say that I wish I had known beforehand. So I'm just going to say, I would like to highlight us.
Yeah.
We have put so much work into what we do. This podcast, for example, I don't know when this will go out, but we started at 3:00, 4:00. Ben couldn't get it in one take. All the time and effort it goes into all the things that we do, the marketing, and we are always customer first. We have fun. We try to compete with each other, but we're always trying to do better. We've been the number one for many years in the state, in this office, in our community. We give back to the community, but I can say we've always been customer first, and we always think that we can improve.
Oh, I love that.
Well, thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, man. Welcome us to the Lyons.
That's
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
No, I do. I love that. And I appreciate that. And we have actually, for all these years, we started with the take care of the client, take care of the people, and the rest will come. We'll take care of itself. The money will come, but let's take care of our people. And that has been very successful for us. And that's a mantra that we've beat for many years, and that warms my heart. Paul, I appreciate that. And not with a sarcastic note either there. It truly does. Thank you for that. So if you like our content, please go to our YouTube channel, like and subscribe, sign up for our newsletter. We got an awesome newsletter. We're putting out great information every week. Go to our Facebook page, go to our Instagram or TikTok. And more importantly, go to sjcbroker.com and sign up for a personal consultation where we'd love to sit down with you, talk with you about whether you're looking to buy or sell residential or commercial, and we can give you an advantage in today's market. We'd love to work with you, sit down with you and have a consultation. And that's something you can do at any point with any one of us here at the Lyons Group. So thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, we'll see you in the den.
Thank you for listening to The Den, powered by the Lyons Group. Hit the subscribe button to keep informed on real estate happenings. If you'd like to learn more about the Lyons Group, visit sjcbroker.com. Complex markets require complex strategies. The Lyons Group can give you a true advantage in any market. Whether you're buying or selling, residential or commercial, contact us directly at sjcbroker.com. We're time-tested experts with a client-first approach, and we'll see you next time in the den.